Golly, that's good.
I cracked myself up. I still haven't found my first Blanton's.
That's different. I really like that. They're like together, like peas and carrots.
That's funny. Sometimes accidents are good things. Peychauds or Pechaud's or Pechaw. This is not what I expected. Hello, my friends. It is Bourbcast night, and I'm glad you're with us. I've got to first start off by introducing the newest shirt. This was a gift from my daughter's boyfriend for Father's Day. It came in a little late, but we had this joke. There's this restaurant that I won't mention, but over the years, they've been well known for E. coli breakouts. And so I've always just kind of stayed away from them, and I don't like eating there because, you know, I kind of think that they torch their own reputation in my book. You get so many chances over so many years, and then no more. So anyhow, so we have this one. Bourbon has never been recalled for E. coli. Suck it, lettuce. So it was very kind of him to get me this shirt. You know, he's 21. He watches the Bourbcast occasionally, and now he'll have another reason to watch it. So, okay. Well, just a couple of things. We're going to get into this here shortly, but I want to give you some bourbon news. It was suggested to me a while back that I could keep things fresh if I tell you some of the things going on in the industry. So I'm going to do that tonight. First of all, bourbon news. Wild Turkey has just released its oldest rye yet, called Master's Keep Triumph. Bruce Russell's a fan of rye, and with rye starting to increase in popularity again, finally, this investment in time is paying off. It's a 10-year, so they had to think this up a decade ago. It's 104 proof, and it's only the second Master's Keep rye that's come out since 2015. $275 for that bottle. Master's Keep, though, that's a good name. Kentucky Bourbon Trail is expanding, adding 28 new craft distilleries to its tour. Craft distilleries are exploding in popularity, and they're being added to the 18 distilleries already on the trail, clustered around the 4 points of northern Kentucky. Bardstown, well, I don't know if it's northern Kentucky, but Bardstown, Lexington, Louisville, and northern Kentucky. The craft distilleries were previously part of an additional craft distillery tour, but now they're joining the main tour. So you're looking at over 40 distilleries now on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. Now, let's also talk about Maker's Mark. That's our focus of today. But the BEP last year was rumored to be the last in their wood finishing series. That series is back for 2024. Now, to be clear, everything Maker's Marks, get it? Maker's Marks. It's okay. Is the exact same mash bill, and the only thing that differentiates the pours is time in the bottle, place in the rick house, proof, and whether or not they put different staves in it to change the flavor of the bourbon. Well, the naming of the bottles is different than in previous years, and the 2024 release is called the Heart release. And this is what they say about it. We launched this series in 2019 with RC6, and the bottles would tell stories really specific to our whiskey making process. RC6 was about our yeast and the flavors that might come out of that. So they named it like Bourbon Geeks, is what happened. A number of like-minded releases followed, featuring names like BEP, FAE-02, and BRT-01. Again, they named it like engineers, like geeks, like nerds, like dorks. After that, the CEO came to them and said, look, no more R2-D2 names. So they're going to give it more approachable names now. This one for 2024 is called the Heart Release. As far as tonight's pour, I was looking for a cask strength because we're doing cask strength stuff, but I had trouble finding something that actually said cask strength on it. So I've got this one here from 2020. This is a 109.1 proof. This is the OHLQ Holiday in Ohio. It's the Oak Stave collection, but it doesn't say anywhere on it that it's barrel proof or cask strength. So I can't do this one. It doesn't say it. Now, it may very well be cask strength at 109.1, but it ain't. I mean, it might be, but it ain't. So we're going to move on to the next one. This is another one of those RTD2 names. This is part of the wood finishing series. This is a 2020 release called SE4 times PR5. A marriage of virgin toasted American and French oak staves. So a little bit country, a little bit of rock and roll. Okay, if you're old enough to know that reference, I'm incredibly impressed. Incredibly impressed. And if you look it up, you're going to be like, dude, why? No, come on. A little bit country, a little bit of rock and roll. Just daring you. But actually, it's a little bit Maker's Mark and a little bit Maker's 46. At least that's the way it sounds. But this one is 110.8 proof, and still nowhere on it does it say that it's barrel proof or cask strength. So I can't. It says barrel finished, but it doesn't say anything else. So I couldn't do that. So then there's this beautiful release from last year, rumored to be the last in the series. I have had this before. This also does not say cask strength. It doesn't say barrel proof. It doesn't say any of that on here. But I'm going to tell you, if you can find the BEP, this is a fantastic pour. I'm not a Maker's Mark fan. You know this by now. I don't love Maker's Mark, but this is amazing. This is fantastic, and I haven't opened it yet, and I'm not going to do it tonight either, because it doesn't say barrel proof anywhere on it. So, we decided to go back to the basics. Tom's watching, Paul's watching. That's a lot of red wax topped bottles. Yeah, I've got a few. Considering I don't even like Maker's Mark very well, I do tend to buy some of the special bottles when they come out, because I do like some of them. One of them back here I've got two of them back here. There's one of the private selection, and it's called like crumble cookie brownie something. Bleh. I hate the way they name those. Bleh. Just makes it sound too sweet and bleh. Sorry. If you're one of those sympathetic gaggers, I apologize. Bleh. But not a lot. Okay. So we're moving on. The regular Maker's Mark. This one is 70% corn, 16% soft red winter wheat, and 14% malted barley. So it's not going to have that rye spice. A lot of people don't like rye. One of the people watching right now, John, he's not a rye fan. He doesn't like the rye stuff at all. So he would probably prefer a wheated whiskey. Now the problem with this one is I don't like it. It's okay. It's just I just don't love it. There are other makers that I like a lot better. Like I said, that BEP is fantastic. And it's the exact same mash bill. Everything they make is the exact same mash bill. This one is only 90 proof. Now, I was reading a review online as I was getting ready for this today, and the reviewer said that the proof makes all the difference in the world with the barrel proof. Let's put this up on the pedestal here. Let's put it up on the platform so you can see. But I've already opened it, because the wax thing, I hate the wax thing. It's always a mess, so I just didn't want to do it on camera. And I've already poured it because it's barrel proof, cask strength, and I wanted it to be able to sit there and breathe a little bit before we got into it. But this is the same thing as this. It's just, this is only 90 proof, and this one is 100 and... I didn't write it down. Rye is the devil. I know, John, you're not a fan. This one is 109.5 proof. So I had looked at it. I just didn't write it down. Let's see. So these cask strength pours, they range between 108 and 114 proof. And again, this one is 109.5. Again, 70% corn, 16% soft red winter wheat. That's important because that's the secondary grain of this. And 14% malted barley. It's still 51% corn. It's still a bourbon. $44.99 in the state of Ohio. There is no age statement on this, but they have a reputation for being bottled to taste, right? Not bottled for time. They're not going to go, well, we have a 6-year bourbon because that's what makes it best. They taste it. And if at 4 years it's ready, then they bring it out. If it takes 6 years, then they bring it out. Now, I saw different reports online that the barrel proof Maker's Mark could be aged anywhere between 4 and 6. So it could be 4, could be 5, could be 6 years. Depends on probably the batch that you buy. Okay. It's been screen filtered to get rid of the wood bits and the char, but it's not chill or carbon filtered, so I may really like the mouthfeel on this. We'll find out. Maker's Mark has been making premium bourbon since 1953. Their distillery is called Star Hill Farm in Loretto, Kentucky, in Marion County. Population 723. They're part of the Bourbon Trail, but they're a bit outside the main route and share that distinction, being a little bit outside the main route, with Limestone Branch, the makers of Yellowstone, and Wilderness Trail. Makers, okay. Yeah, I'm not a fan either, Kevin. I've never been a fan of Makers, but I have liked a lot of the other expressions. And I have now spent all my information. It's time to smell. Smell! Whew. Whew, that's sweet. There's got a sweetness. Phew. Yeah, that cinnamon came right out, just a popping, like a hernia. Can you turn your volume up a bit? You turn your volume up a bit. I'm looking at my meter. It's just right. If I do any more, it's going to peak. Okay. Yeah, so I've said this a few times recently, but this time I really mean it. Creme brulee. Yeah. Cinnamons are perfect on that. It's got like a cream type of a thing going on. The vanillas are nice. It's not grassy at all. Huh? This would be in the savory, although it's got some sweetness to it. I'm not catching any candy notes. I'm not really catching any floral notes. I'm not catching any honey notes. I'm looking for it. I get a little butterscotch. Yeah, butterscotch. Butterscotch. Okay. Is anybody else having difficulty hearing me, or is this just one person having issues? Because he's had issues more than once. He has a lot of issues. Just let me know. Because there's not a lot I can do except for like bring the thing. So, and according to the meter, it looks good. And I don't want to end up peeking out. All right. Yeah, butterscotch. You are quiet a little. All right. We'll bring it up. Bring it up. See if that's any better. Okay on my end. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. You're a true champion. True patriot. But I did bring it up a touch. Hopefully that'll help a little bit. I may have adjusted the camera itself. I did have a shoot. I will tell you what I did. I will tell you. It'll be funny. I went to jail. I did. I've been shooting a video for a nonprofit, and the sheriff of the county is a friend of mine, and every time I've asked him, hey, can I shoot in the jail? Can I shoot, in the Justice Center, something like that? He is always a yes. He has never told me no, not one time. So I went to jail with the sheriff, and that's the holding cell area. When they first bring people in, I'm not going to tell you the landscape of the thing because that's a security threat, but when they first bring people into the jail, these are the holding cells. There are people that might stay there for a day. They may stay there for the weekend. If you look at the camera, just to the right of the camera and above it, you're going to see something that looks like a tarp or like some puffy thing. That puffy thing is actually a window shade because somebody was in there while we were filming. Now, when we filmed a movie in there in 2019, we did it on a Saturday morning, and there wasn't anybody in there. And if anybody had to come in, they took them right upstairs into the jail. But for this, we didn't need that much time. They didn't need to shuffle people around that much. So so they covered that up, so I couldn't look at the inmate, the person sitting in there, and that's so I went to jail, and that was yesterday. And I took my son with me. He's free help, right? He's my production assistant when we go out and do things, and I took him with me, and this is the second time in jail for him. Same thing, all production. He hasn't been in trouble or anything like that, but it was fun to have him in there to help me out, and he wasn't nervous one bit. He sat down, put his thingies in, listened to music. He was good to go, happy as a clam. Now, if the dude in the cell might have stood up and started going, "Ah," then it might have been a different story. He might not have appreciated that very much. And I didn't take him upstairs. Upstairs is where the real jail is, and that's not pleasant. It's loud, and the people are unruly, and it's not pleasant. All right, let's get into this. First impression. The mouthfeel is surprisingly thin. For a cask strength pour, the mouthfeel on this is surprisingly thin. It doesn't have the viscosity that I would have expected. The bloom is very slow. It took a minute, and I actually, when I let it fall down the gullet, that's when I started to actually get some of that burn. So if you're looking for a cask strength pour that's a little on the mild side, this is one I would set you up with. Now, it may be because of that deficit of spice, the no rye in it, but I doubt it. For me, it just did not present on that very first impression. Now, this isn't exactly a neck pour. It is, but it's been sitting for about, what time is it? It's been sitting for about 25 minutes. So it maybe calmed down a little bit in the glass. I don't know. But I'm a little surprised that it didn't bite me a little bit heavier than that. Okay. All right, let's go for it again here. It took that long to start to bloom. On my second dram, it took that long. And now that I've swallowed, I can feel it on the end of my tongue real well. There's some bite on the end of the tongue. This drinks way below its proof until the very end. Like, I'm feeling it on the end of my tongue right now. And back on my tongue. But when it was on the palate, it just sat there. It's another one of those that when it gets air in your mouth, that's when it starts to go. Speaking of fire, I thought it was clever. You might not have seen it because we got started and it was a while before people joined us. So I'll just throw this out there that I thought the red top on this and the heat as cask strength would be reminiscent of fire. So I got clever and I put it on a fire hydrant. I don't know, I thought it was fun. And it took me a while to find a fire hydrant I can use because they're not all the same. Some of them, the front of it doesn't go out that far, doesn't protrude. Again, back to the hernia reference. Anyway, so I thought that I tried several different things, and that was the only one that worked out. So, okay. So, I'm going to try one more time to see what I think about the mouthfeel, and then we're going to add water to this. On the first glance, it seemed thin. As I get into it now, it doesn't seem as thin. But if your first impression is, this kind of seems thin, it's probably not great. The flavors are fine. I guess I haven't talked about the flavors at all. I mean, that rye spice isn't there. So again, if you're not a rye fan, then you might like this. I will tell you that I like this better than Maker's Mark, the regular 90 proof Maker's Mark. It's got more presence, it's got more flavor, there's more going on. Let's see if I can find out some notes for you. Cinnamon. That wheat is giving me just a little bit of a baking spice, only not the same type of of a baking spice that rye would impart. It's a lighter side. There's definitely a sweeter side to it. I'm not catching any fruit. I'm not catching any citrus. None of that. It's a nice pour. It just I expected it to be, thicker, and I expected it to hit me a little harder than it is. And that's not a bad thing that it didn't hit me harder. If you're not into high proof bourbons, but you want to get into them, this would be a nice entry level bottle for you to get into the higher proof bourbons, because again, it presents a lot. Once you swallow it, that's when it goes boom and lights the fire on it, and it's still like that. Even after I've been through it, it's still like that. So it's a tasty drink. I'm not going to tell you it's complex. Sometimes you get into these barrel proof things and you're going to get more complexity, and I'm not going to tell you it's more complex. It's definitely more complex than its brother, the 90 proofer. This is his little brother. This is the one that they give to wedgies to. It's definitely more complex than that, but I wouldn't go so far as to say, wow, that's got flavor coming from everywhere. No. As far as the cask strength, though, for Maker's Mark, the cask strength brings out a lot more. All right, one more, and then we're going to add water to it. I'm going to stick with that creme brulee thing. The vanillas are nice. There's stuff going on. That cinnamon is there. Maybe just a touch of brown sugar. And on the palate, on the finish, there's a little bit of honey, just a little bit. You had to look for it on the palate, and you had to look for it on the nose, but on the finish, there's a little sweetness, and I want to say that is reminiscent of honey to me. All right. I got people messaging me. It's like, folks, it's Thursday. We're busy. Look the other way. All right, so I'm hoping this improves the viscosity. I know, viscosity is a terrible word to use with bourbon, but it's appropriate. When you think of something that's viscous, you could say buttery, you could say silky, but I guess those are more attractive than viscous. How are you feeling today? Well, I'm feeling a little viscous, actually. Ain't right. Ain't right. Ain't. All right, with a little water on here. Okay. Pinky Tuscadero, another pop culture reference from a long time ago. If you know Pinky Tuscadero, I have respect for you. I also don't. It was like, that's right, I'm a pop culture icon. Not. No, I just know a lot of useless knowledge. All right. No, the viscosity on that really improved. The mouthfeel was a lot nicer. It was more like I would have expected. When you have something that doesn't have charcoal or chill filtering, I expect it to be a little bit buttery, and this wasn't. But you put a little water on it, and it gives it that. That was nice. This might be one of those that I actually prefer it on water, but let's get into it a little bit further here. I'm not getting that heat on the end of my tongue like I was, but that's okay, because the flavors didn't really change a lot. Maybe if they were at volume 5, you might have turned it up to 5.5 or 6. There's just a little more flavor, a little more pop, but the difference in the mouthfeel for me makes putting this on water worth it. I'm not a water guy. I like it neat, but in this case, if you want this to have the feel in the mouth that you want it to have, adding a little water to this is a good idea. All right, so we're gonna do the ice test here. This glass was owned by a friend of mine. His name is Mike, and Mike, his life he spent as a forester. I mean, he could identify any tree. I have some woods, and he came down and he went through the woods with me, fell in love with it, said it was a gorgeous woods. I can't disagree with him. I'm rather partial to my land. And this glass is not pretty. You can tell it's been through the dishwasher. It's got little pucks and little marks on it, and it's not pretty at all. But he passed away a while back, I don't know, a month and a half ago, something like that. He was a good guy. He was a really genuinely nice guy, faithful man, knew the Lord, and I can't say enough nice things about him. He was genuinely a kind man, and he was good to me. And when he passed away, family and friends wanted to know if I wanted to have these glasses, and I went, heck yeah. So this one on ice, we're dedicating to Mike, my friend, who, you know, when people pass away, I'm not a very emotional person when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't tend to miss people. I tend to long for conversations that we can't have anymore, right? So like I was down at the land the other day, and a neighbor told me that somebody had disappeared on the corner of the land that we have. Like they found the car, but they never found the person who was supposed to drive it. They don't know if he's dead, alive, buried there somewhere. We have no idea. And I've never found bones that belong to a human. It doesn't seem like a skull or anything. So that they were telling me that, like back in the 70s or something like that, that there was they found the car, they were looking for this dude, they found the car, they didn't find anybody. And it's a mystery to this day. But I would have liked to gone back and talked to somebody in the family and say, hey, do you remember this thing where the person disappeared in the car? And the same thing with Mike. I'd love to be able to say, hey, is this red oak worth anything? You know, or what's this tree? Or just whatever. And I find myself, that's what I find myself wanting, is wishing that I could still have some conversations. And it's still fresh. He's only been gone a month and a half. But anyway, I'm gonna dedicate this to Mike. And we're gonna finger stir just for Paul. So that way, Paul, you can connect with my friend Mike too. All right. All right. That's actually not bad. That's actually quite good. There's a little pepper on it now, which I did not catch before. Again, I don't like things on ice either. I don't like things on water, and I don't like things on ice, but this is solid. If you're looking for something to do something with, like a old-fashioned, whatever, there's tons of drinks, right? This will hold up. The flavor of this holds up and actually is enhanced. Goodness gracious, I'm surprised. Maybe they made this for ice. I've heard that there are some distillers that do that. That the master distiller likes the bourbon on ice. Excuse me. Which I don't know why any master distiller would want to do it that way, but okay. But this is pretty decent on ice. Those sweeter notes come out. Oh my gosh. Wow. I wish I could. Butterscotch came out big time. Vanilla, cinnamon. I'm actually rather surprised at how much flavor there is on ice. Normally, ice mutes the flavors. This found new flavors and threw them at me. Really nice. All right. So that's the Maker's Mark. Cask strength, we've got 2 more weeks left in July. And therefore 2 more barrel proof picks that we're going to do. One of them, since we did the wheated this week, we're going to do a wheat whiskey next week. And I'm really excited about this, actually. I like the Bernheim. And when I found out that it was going to be released barrel strength, I was like, oh, gotta have. And I got to the store and it was gone. But it showed up again and I went, gimme, 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 and here it is, and it's in my grubby little hand. So next week we're going to go full wheat. This is a wheat whiskey, which means the primary grain has to be at least 51% wheat. 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 So this is the one we're going to do next week. I'm looking forward to this. I'm actually stoked about this. And then I got one more after that for the last week of July. And then we're going to do something different. We're going to spend the rest of August, with the month of August, doing pours that have nothing to do with any series. It's just random stuff. And it's going to be fun being able to do something a little bit different. So that's coming up next week. Once again, the Bernheim Barrel Proof, as we continue our Cask Strength and Barrel Proof series that has lasted now 2 months. And then I got one more at the end of the month that I will tell you about later. In the meantime, thank you for watching. I don't say that enough, I don't think. You could be anywhere else. You could be doing anything else. It's a beautiful evening compared to the last few that we've had with that hurricane coming through. But thank you. You're here with me, and it means everything. So I appreciate you being here. Those of you on YouTube, thank you for being here. We've recently hit 300 subscribers. Yes! That's kind of a nice thing. So what do they say? Share, smash that button and share and like and share and stuff. I'm an old man. I'm doing what I can. All right. We will see you next Thursday, and thank you so much for being here.